All right, folks, Cimbolic, this is the second part of the summary video for the Council of 12 show that took place on November 21st. That was yesterday. The topic of the show was married and living with HIV. Our guest was Reggie Smith. Reggie's been HIV positive for at least 15 years, maybe closer to 20. He's married, and his wife is HIV negative. He spoke a lot about his personal story, his personal journey through the testing procedure and the diagnosis, and I really recommend listen to the show. Go to the description box, click on it, listen to Reggie, listen to his story, listen to his voice. If you have not yet listened to one of our shows, make this the show you listen to. Description box, that's where the link is. Wellness recovery. Right, so just to back up a little bit, HIV is a virus that affects the immune system. Within your system, we have what are called T cells, and depending on how many T cells you are, that's how they measure the strength of the immune system. I believe Reggie told us that the average, whatever that is, person has somewhere between 700 and 1,500 T cells. If you have HIV, if you test positive for HIV, and your T cells drop to below 200, then you are given the designation of AIDS. So, in other words, AIDS is a designation. It's not really a disease. And as I mentioned before, what happens is HIV lowers the strength of your immune system and the resilience of your immune system, and then other diseases come along and take advantage of the weakened immune system. So, in other words, AIDS is a designation. See, so now don't be afraid of a designation. If you are diagnosed positive, you test positive for HIV, then what then happens? It just means they've detected the virus in your system, and what you want to do then is find healthy ways of living and practicing wellness and techniques of wellness so that you keep your T cell up. And as I say, there are many other things that can lower our T cell rate. Our T cell rate can be lowered by environmental toxins, contaminants in foods, etc. So that's the story there. Just to talk a little bit about what's the difference between AIDS and HIV. And as you know, many people have HIV. Listen, as far as resources go, on Facebook, and I have links in the description box, Reggie has Reggie has a site for the Operation Grace. He has a site for the WAR Initiative, Wellness, Awareness, and Recovery. Also, there are a couple YouTube sites, and there's also a Facebook site for Rise, the Resurrection Show. And also on YouTube, I've got both links in there. As far as social networking and information about HIV, there are a couple sites, HIVanon.org, HIVanonymous.com. I have links in the description box, really to make people aware that HIV does affect all of us, and we all have a position in this war, and we all have a role to play in the war. And Reggie gave us a model to think in which to think of that, which I think was a very effective model. But as I say, HIV has basically attacked globally, and whether we like it or not, we are in the war. So we might as well play a role to improve things and to use weapons against HIV. It affects us, affects our loved ones, affects our fellow humans. Talked about a little bit about prevention. Of course, abstinence is the most effective way to prevent sexual transmission of disease. Remember, there are other ways to contract the disease, but as far as sexual transmission, abstinence is the best way. Now, I've heard of abstinence before marriage, but abstinence after marriage, that's a whole different story. So Reggie shared with us some thoughts about sexuality, about broadening our sexuality. This is another redefining, eye-opening sort of thing. The classic Western concept of sex that we're given is simply ejaculation, orgasm, rather than as Reggie says, ingasm, which is a temporary, brief period of time. But there are other cultures that develop a whole practice of sex, reflexology of sex, and in fact, I believe that one Reggie's group teaches a course called Sexology 101. Now, there's a fascinating one. Don't you wish they had that in college? You could sign up for that, or in high school. Sexology 101, hey, or whatever. It's a good one. But anyway, there are entire dimensions of sexuality. Just like wellness has greater dimensions than mere health, sexuality has many, many more dimensions, including spiritual dimensions, than just plain orgasm. So there can be dimensions of sexuality, dimensions of pleasure that are completely undiscovered and completely unexplored. And you can experience a richer and more satisfying and more pleasurable sex life wearing a condom, my brothers and my sisters, because there are female condoms now, than you can without a condom. So it's something to think about. When people tell you, oh, well, I don't want to wear a condom because it's going to, cut down on the pleasure, not necessarily so. It just means you don't know enough. Who does? The comment will betray our sexual ignorance if we use it, or at least our sexual naivete, or something. I remember there's an Indian. I forget whether it's an Indian or a Buddhist god, but they say that god's orgasms lasted 600 years. Another point, that's interesting, 600 years. Another point Reggie make is that everything lasts longer with condoms. Sex lasts longer. Health lasts longer, life lasts longer, relationships last longer. So condoms are a good thing, a very powerful tool, a tool to actually better control sexual energy and to better guide and channel sexual energy, and faithfully using condoms also builds trust in a relationship, and trust in a relationship further enriches and diversifies the sexual experience. Of course, hey, you guys, I'm a novice at this expanded sexuality thing. I'm not afraid to admit, I've read about it in books on Tantra, but unfortunately, I have not explored these to the extent I should. I asked Reggie, hey, let's say I test positive. I come to you and I say, Reggie, man, I just tested positive. What do you recommend? Give me 5 or 6 things to recommend. Reggie says, number one recommendation, don't be afraid. There are a lot of people with a lot of worse diseases. There's people dying of cancer and diabetes that could only hope and wish that they had a diagnosis of HIV positive. Not that it's a diagnosis, but a test of HIV positive. There are worse things to die from. So make the decision that, hey, if I'm going to live through the day, I might as well just keep living, right? Make the decision. He recommends developing a spiritual aspect, admitting to yourself that your life has changed, and that your behavior patterns have to change. By the way, he mentioned earlier in the show that addictive behavior patterns create a resistance to change and fear of change. So, break through addictions, get some pure, pristine water to drink. Also use filters on shower heads and faucets so that you filter out the chemical toxins and biotoxins. Diet, maybe you want to consider improving your diet, not eating meat, among other things, but that's a whole other realm to the diet. Stop addictive behaviors, smoking, sugar, cut that stuff out, and you're going to make a whole change to your life. And remember that there are other people who are suffering from worse things than you are. And start mitigating the damage done to your system by the biotoxins and the hazards and the stress and everything else. And that's the path to recovery. And that's what the whole recovery movement about. That's what WAR is about. Wellness, awareness, recovery. We are at war with HIV. All of us are affected. It touches all of us. I know I've had friends die of AIDS through years ago. I mean, I don't think there were the treatment and understanding at that time that there is now, but it touches all of us in ways we're not even aware of. And as I say, 25 million of us may actually have it. And even if we've never been exposed to it, we may have weakened immunosystems due to other causes. And hey, therefore, we're all in the same boat. boat. Remember, one community, with tools for everybody. To help us all through. That's the story. It was a great show. Please listen to the show. Thanks for watching, but listen to the show is 10 times better watching the summary video. I guarantee it. Well, if I can get to such things. You take care. Cimbolic out. And thanks to Reggie.